Welcome to the first episode of AI Updates. This is a new talk show about artificial intelligence for the built environment sector, brought to you by Finnish AI Region Fair. My name is Teemu Lehtinen. I'm the CEO of Kira Hub, the innovation hub for the built environment sector here in Finland, and I'll be your host today. In today's episode, we will have the latest news about AI in built environment. We will have two amazing guests coming, Lukas Lundin from Microsoft and Gaurav Khullar from DataDesign. We also have an AI story and highlighted example from the field about utilizing AI. And in the end, we will have the question of the day selected from our audience questions, and we will discuss that with ChatGPT and our two amazing guests. Let's go on. All right, so time for news. Generative AI has taken the world by storm in the past few months, as we all know. ChatGPT for text, Midjourney for images have developed faster than we can all imagine. And there's also been a lot of discussion about the implications for the different roles within the built environment sector. This weekend, actually this post by Impact, a Belgian agency specializing in construction trade jobs, made a lot of waves on social media. And there was actually two different sides on the discussion. So it's basically a building cover on a project saying that, hey, ChatGPT finished this building. The AEC professionals, though, that this is really good kind of reminder to all of us that we still have craft jobs out there that cannot be automated by AI, and we should really appreciate that. On the other hand, tech people seem to have a perspective on this that, well, wait for some years, 2 or 3 years, and all these craft jobs will be automated into factories into these autonomous robots. So I don't know, maybe the truth lies somewhere in the between. What do you think? Please let us know in the comments. Another news, AI Foresight has launched Wendy, an AI virtual assistant for construction projects at the Digital Construction Week in London last month. They have also launched a partnership program for the early adopters, where there's still a couple of slots available. So if you're interested to try out Wendy as one of the first companies in the world, please let us know. We will also hear more about Wendy on the next episode of AI Updates. And then the final news. Fair Finnish AI Region has started with a kickoff event in April. Fair is one of the European digital innovation hubs aiming at accelerating AI adoption for small and medium-sized companies, especially in two sectors, health and built environment. We as Kira Hub, as part of Fair, we are focusing, of course, on the built environment sector and providing the following services. We have the AI for built environment online course available in Finnish and English for no cost. We also operate AI Accelerator, which is a 4-month sprint where companies can join to plan and test an idea in practice, how it works, does it make sense to invest some more money into it. And then we also had testbed and matchmaking activities available. So if you're interested in any of these activities or services, please let us know as well. The fall batches of the AI Accelerator are actually filling up quite fast. And now we have a video about FAIR project.
Artificial intelligence drives the development of global societies, and Finland is at the heart of turning the theory into practice. Finnish AI Region FAIR is a new European digital innovation hub that fast-forwards your AI abilities to the next decade. As part of an EU flagship initiative, FAIR ED solves real-life business problems using both existing and novel AI. Focusing on digital services, smart cities, and health sector, FAIR offers the services of 60 AI professors and their teams, access to Europe's fastest supercomputer Lumi, state-of-the-art test facilities, and world-class venture capital. FAIR aims to be genuinely useful, bringing concepts to life. We help SMEs transform AI-empowered innovations into actual products and better internal processes. Through collaboration, we enable SMEs to take a leap in productivity and competitiveness, taking them to the forefront of utilization of AI in their field. Our services include needs analysis and road mapping, training, test before invest, matchmaking, support to find investments. With FAIR, you get access to a unique network of pioneering AI operators in Finland, from leading academic institutions and corporations to the 3 capital region cities, Helsinki, Vantaa, and Espoo. FAIR supports ethically sustainable and ecologically endurable choices, all through reliable, cutting-edge technological innovations. This allows us to make the societal impact we envision. Digital challenges. Together, we will overcome. With FAIR, you become the future.
All right. Our first guest is Lukas Lundin from Microsoft. Welcome, Lukas.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Great. First, tell us a little bit about your professional background and your relationship with AI.
All right. I've been at Microsoft now for about 4.5 years. In the beginning, I did a lot of everything that had to do with Azure or cloud platform. So doing server migrations and so forward. I then transitioned over into doing more data and AI things. And recently now for a year now, I've been leading the local go-to-market efforts for data and AI in Finland. And I have to say that lately, maybe the last 3 months or so has been mainly AI, and not so much in the data part. But yeah, anything from SQL servers to generative AI has been here. So I think I experimented with OpenAI services for the first time a couple of years ago when GPT-3 was available. So some experience in doing hands-on things also.
Okay, quite interesting times for the past year or so in this development.
Definitely, I think the speed has been tremendous the last half year or so since ChatGPT was released by OpenAI. So yeah.
So Microsoft has partnered or invested even in OpenAI. What's Microsoft's vision in the longer term with OpenAI?
Yeah, so we saw a lot of potential in OpenAI already, I think 5 or so years ago when we started our cooperation with OpenAI, mainly due to these AI models requiring huge amounts of infrastructure to be trained on. But then also recently, due to the sheer capabilities of these OpenAI models, so we saw kind of a lot of potential in integrating OpenAI services into our own product. So in the future, we will have like co-pilots in Teams and in Outlook and in Word and everywhere, working as our co-pilots. But We also see a lot of potential in helping others build solutions with these same APIs, since it's not so much you don't really need AI knowledge to implement this like generative AI. So we see a lot of potential in helping organizations get more out of their own products and services. So.
Yeah, and those things are coming a lot faster than we're expecting.
Yeah, I think goes to show how important the good user interface is. Since GPT-3 was available for 2 years, it was kind of capable, but it didn't have the same interface as ChatGPT had. But then once everyone tried it, it gained a lot of popularity, and now it feels like there's something new every day when you when you open Twitter or something. So.
Yeah, definitely. So, what phenomena do you find the most interesting yourself with the AI development at the moment?
I think, well, most fascinating is how broad it is. It's not tied to a certain specific area. We've been doing AI for a long time in Finland in healthcare, and these solutions or models have been quite specific for certain uses. But now with these like foundational models, they're so broad that they can be integrated pretty much anywhere. So I think the lack of limitations came as a surprise for I think many, and I think also Microsoft and OpenAI underestimated how popular these services would be. But yeah.
All right. There's been a lot of discussion on the kind of bigger picture implication of this development, especially towards knowledge work. So how do you see it yourself? What kind of implications, or have you even researched that a little bit lately? That what kind of implications does this have for knowledge work?
Yeah, I think things have been automated for a long time, but I think the automation has been tied to, let's say, industry and factories. But we're now at the point in history where, for the first time, information work can be automated, even creative work. And we did a study, or Microsoft does a study each year, which is a work trend index, where we ask everyone that uses our services to respond to certain questions that are on top of mind. So we did one when the pandemic struck, and now we did one after this like AI came out. So if you want like detailed information, it's available for everyone. It's called Work Trend Index. But what's interesting is, I think, if I quote the numbers correctly now, I think about 20% are a bit afraid of it currently, and about 60% see enormous potential or already like have started using it in their daily work. But I see, at least from my standpoint, when I've been talking to a lot of organizations about the use of AI, I'd say 80% of organizations say that, yeah, we know our employees are using AI to do a lot of things, but they don't have a structured way of approaching it. So I think we're now at the point where everyone knows how this works, that they're like good for a lot of certain purposes, but we now have the leap to make to actually implement this into like business processes and to get the like real value out of it. Yeah. So, and what should I say? I think there's a Finnish word for, like, we call it in English co-pilot, but I like the Finnish word tukiäly. So it's kind of a support intelligence that can actually help in a lot of tasks, and I use it pretty much daily when writing emails, when researching things. In the built environment, I used AI, or actually used Bing to help me do a market research for air conditioning units, and like what sort of units do I need, and it was then able to suggest a few of those, and then I could use the same AI to help me make a tender, or like ask for offers from other companies. So I think it's kind of adding a lot of capability to a lot of processes.
Definitely, that's an interesting story there. You also had an interesting finding with Italian programmers.
Yeah, definitely. So there is, like, speaking of copilots, the first copilot we had was actually part of GitHub's ecosystem. So there is a product called GitHub Copilot, which basically works as an autocomplete on steroids. So when a developer is writing code, the Copilot in GitHub then starts writing code or suggesting it. And it could be like you can write just a comment and then it writes more code. And AI is being used a lot in development also by just like sparring with, let's say, ChatGPT or GPT-4. So you basically can ask it to make an application, but you can also like paste in error messages that you have. But anyhow, so it's used a lot in development already. But what then happened was that Italy banned ChatGPT, so the consumer-facing service, due to GDPR concerns for a couple of weeks. And this was actually research that it caused a 50% productivity drop for like Italian developers. So they measured the amount of releases that are coming out from Italian developers. So it dropped by 50% for 2 days. And then it started recovering due to increased VPN usage. So there's actually a paper on this out there. So, but I think that's quite a concrete thing. But I think the same is maybe not 50% in general like productivity, but I think a lot of productivity is already boosted by these AI services. So.
That's really interesting story there. Within the built environment, we also have a lot of knowledge work. We have architects, engineers doing a lot of design work. We have project management work, doing the schedules, doing the kind of information management within the projects. We have different service work within buildings. Of course, there's also craft work for the workers on the site and etc. How do you see the kind of implications of AI and these developments to the different roles in the built environment?
Yeah, there's also here so much potential, but if we could start from, like, say, project management, something like that. We already now have solutions where we have partners who have implemented OpenAI into, let's say, ERP systems or like project planning systems. So instead of like starting to build your own or like using a template for a project and then tweaking, getting something like ish done, you can instead with natural language just feed it project specifications in pretty free text, and it can then generate all the different steps in the project management. But we can also take it further. We can have it criticize certain it can like maybe estimate the likeliness of something being completed on time. We already have a partner called FellowMind who integrated a project management system with OpenAI in our Dynamics CRM system. And I think a lot of these like project management systems are implementing these features. So that's just one thing that's already out there. But then if we move to design or let's say look at different applications, I think everyone is now trying to implement generative AI in their programs. I haven't looked up exactly, but I think Autodesk is integrating this into a lot of their products. So instead of doing all of the nitty-gritty details when modeling and building models, you can instead focus on the bigger picture, and then the details will be kind of pre-generated. I think, well, maybe a more visual example for anyone that doesn't deal with Autodesk software is probably Photoshop. It's not related to this, but they're implementing generative AI there. So it's basically you can ask AI to do things for you. So I think we will be seeing a lot of these, like a lot of SaaS or software companies integrating this seamlessly into whatever they're already doing. So that was like project management and these softwares. Then we have, let's say, tendering processes or something like that. You can have, basically, you could instruct AI to read certain requests or proposals, like requests for proposals, and then have AI kind of write out ready-made responses based on your templates. So that could make things quicker for committing to projects. Kind of a customer support. That's not industry specific, but there are so many use cases in customer support. Basically, in different CRM systems, we already have features where you can have AI kind of pre-respond or like create ready-made responses to questions, and then customer support kind of tweaks those and fills it in. But I think, yeah, there's And then call centers, of course, we have like speech to text where you can like transcribe a conversation with a customer and then have AI classify the discussion, find like the relevant relevant details of it, and so forth. Where should I continue? Okay, then maybe in, let's say, in the built environment, the more not talking about exactly ChatGPT, but another foundational models are these visual models, because the next step for generative AI is kind of multimodality, so adding capability for the AI to see not just text but images. So these foundational models are already available. Of, let's say you have a lot of camera footage, you could have this AI kind of recognize things in that footage without pre-training the model. So you have like a foundational model that knows a lot of different things, and then you can just ask the AI to identify all helmets or like say risk if anyone. Yeah, so it can be also used for images, but that's not ChatGPT per se, but maybe the next iteration.
Yeah, indeed, a lot of opportunities there, and to everyone watching this online, let's start the journey of discovering these opportunities within FAIR and AI Accelerator. All right, Microsoft is also an associated partner in FAIR. Why did you join, and what are kind of your expectations there?
Yeah, of course, we want to be involved in all of the AI discussion that's happening, not only because we have the tools to do it, but also because we kind of, let's say, if I take an example, Sweden has a really strong AI scene, like AI Sweden has grown a lot there. And I see a lot of potential in FAIR kind of taking that role, because there's a lot of like, there's huge demand for a good forum for these conversations. So I really see potential in FAIR growing in there. So yeah, we from our part, we like we're organizing a lot of courses. Last week we announced a course called Practical AI, which is kind of a 2 study credit course in just like very scraping the surface of AI, but mainly meant for everyone. So we're looking forward to making more of those happen to enable everyone to use these coming AI features.
Great. Maybe we can add that course also to our learning path.
Definitely.
Great. Thank you, Lukas, for coming here and share your perspectives. We will continue in the final discussion still, but now it's time to go to the next guest.
Thanks a lot.
All right, welcome back, and welcome Gaurav Khullar from DataDesign. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
So again, tell us a little bit about your professional background and your relationship with AI.
So I'm a senior partner and an advisor in DataDesign. It is quite a new company. We would call it a growth company actually already. But I have more than 20 years of experience in AI and data industry, specifically in AI, more than 10 years, having worked in big corporates, like Microsoft, Nokia, Accenture, and then also in high growth companies like Silo AI and Digital Workforce. And my relationship has been, what I call full 360 degrees, starting from the strategy part to the implementation part, but then also the operations. So I've been involved in helping companies, on this journey from an end-to-end perspective.
All right, 20 years of experience. How would you describe the last 12 months from that bigger picture?
Yeah, it seems, it's on a new exponential curve has started, and with a very high slope. I think nobody expected, the amount of disruption that has suddenly happened. So it is interesting. I think there would be a lot of applications to the business and use cases, productivity improvements. But I think we also need to take a step back and see the broader implications to the society as well.
Indeed. So you mentioned you've been working for 20 years, helping companies in different roles to kind of utilize AI and maybe in the bigger picture in their digital transformation journey. Uh, so, what are some of the best practices
Mhm.
in this transformation journey that you
Yeah.
would advise companies to take now in
Yeah.
this era?
So I think it needs to start from a strategic and a growth mindset.
Mm.
So the first thing is that you need to follow a very structured process and a methodology to discover these opportunities and ideas, opportunities and ideas that are relevant to your business. Though you can get inspired from outside your industry, from your competitors, but ensure that they are relevant to your specific business. I think that is the most important. What we've also seen is having support from your senior business leaders. That is increasingly important. We've seen time and again many new projects getting spawned, but then having a very shorter lifespan, because there was little support from the senior management. um, then having a proper organization to fuel this innovation, this a growth engine. I think that is also very important. um, and lastly, I would say relevant processes. How do you go from spawning your innovation to managing and delivering that innovation? What kind of processes you have in place? I think that is also very, very important. So these are, I would say, some of the elements that you should look into while working on your AI or digital transformation in general.
A lot of similar key points that we have actually in our course. We offer this AI solution kind of canvas as a tool
Hmm.
to start planning
Yeah,
your projects, and a lot of those principles
yeah,
are
yeah,
actually there as well. Good. We are actually running the AI accelerator for the built environment together with Data Design
yeah,
and two Mikas
yeah,
in your
yeah.
team. How do you see kind of accelerator as a tool in this journey, and how and who can actually benefit from
Yeah.
it?
I think those kinds of companies which are getting started with AI, so the maturity of AI is on the lower side. I think those are the kind of companies which can get a lot of benefit via these accelerator programs. One is, one of the value proposition of these accelerator is awareness in general. So getting awareness about these technologies, what it means to you in your business. That is one part. But then also another part is then we work together with these business leaders during these accelerator workshops to discover those hidden nuggets of gold, those opportunities which are relevant in your business, uh, which builds up a kind of a mental model within those business leaders how to approach these technologies. It's usually not about the technologies, but it's about the broader business implications. So how do you follow, what kind of methodology, what kind of structure you follow to approach these technologies? That is another element of the accelerator program that we follow, which is really important for these kinds of companies.
Definitely, and a lot of those kinds of companies have been also interested in the
Absolutely.
accelerator within our network. Good. Uh, you have also long background in working with uh, AI standardization work
Hmm.
and ethics work as well. How do you see the role of standardization and ethics in this development?
Yeah, I think there is going to be more and more role of standardization, regulations, ethics coming into. And already we know this, the European EU Act, which is getting formulated. Um, but though it has elements mostly related to bias and fairness, explainability of models, goes into the ethics and trust dimensions. uh, but then I think it is still specific to a particular use case or a particular domain when we go about evaluating the models. under the EU AI Act. But with this new um, type of models, these generative models which have come in, I think the EU AI Act would need to look a bit more broadly from these, specifically into these models, because these models are mostly, capability focused. They are not so use case focused. So you can use the same capability in numerous kinds of use cases. So how do you build, regulations so around capabilities, capabilities which could be very useful in some cases, but then harmful in others? How do you build up regulations? I think we are going to have an interesting few years coming up. How does the governments and regulatory bodies work on this aspect? And then it's also the multi country and geopolitical viewpoint over here. What happens in other countries, it's also going to impact innovations you know in general. So how do countries collaborate on these regulations which are generalized enough, but then can be um, worked around in a court of law in any country, which is applicable to the laws of different countries? I think that is also needs to be looked into. So I think from a standardization perspective, it's mostly around these regulatory aspects that we are going to go into.
And now we're already kind of seeing that some of these services
Mhm.
may not be available in all of the
Yeah.
countries, and that also kind of
Yeah.
puts us in a different levels
Yeah.
on a global
Yeah, we
scale.
saw about Italy, banning the
Yeah.
Chat GPT-3 and these kinds of technologies. What are the implications to copyright material, for example? There are possibilities of models which can already discover whether a foundational model was trained on copyright material, and that is also, I think, one of the elements of these regulations related to generative models which is going to come up. More transparency around what kind of copyright material was used as an underlying data for doing this, the training of those kinds of foundational models. So
Interesting times. Any final advice to companies, leaders online watching us to kind of thinking of embarking this
yeah,
journey with their company?
yeah, I think it's always it's not the technology which you need to think about, but always the business impact. How does the technology help you in your business achieve your business goals, whether it is productivity or efficiency or new kinds of business models? I think those are the elements that these business leaders needs to think into, and technology like generative AI is just one of the elements um, to really grab those opportunities. So being technology aware, but still being focused on your business goals, I think that would be the mantra still,
Mm.
as it has been for the past decades as well. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you, Gaurav, as well,
Thank you so much
for
for
joining us
having me.
today. And we will continue in the end discussion with you guys.
Thank you.
All right. In today's AI story, we're highlighting BuildDots. They are actually utilizing AI in their platform to make construction progress more transparent. The platform utilizes the progress data collected with hard hat cameras and compares it with the plans and building information models of the project in order to provide intelligent notifications to different project stakeholders. And actually, in their recent article, BuildDots highlights the importance of performance-driven management and refers to the blockbuster movie Moneyball, where Brad Pitt actually utilized data and advanced statistics as a winning strategy for a team in Major League Baseball. And I think we definitely need similar approach in construction. to be able to improve the productivity at large scale. Buildbots have also won several awards lately as an exemplary AI-based solution to increase construction productivity and quality in major projects around the world. Let us know if you're interested to demoing their solution as well. We can set you up, and now we can watch the video.
When it comes to construction, we're still disconnected. From project status to different teams and the actual reality on the ground. We try to keep track with progress reports, but they're filled with opinions and assumptions. So at the end of the day, we're disconnected from what's really going on. That's all about to change. Introducing Connected Construction, powered by BuildDots. The BuildDots platform collects everything you could ever hope to know, straight from the sites themselves. No opinions, no messengers. Just one central platform connecting you straight to reality. Whether it's one project or 20, objective data is right there. Whenever you need it, going back as far as you need it. All progress tracked. No details missed. No facts assumed. Welcome to construction, not as it has been, but as it should be. People are connected. Systems are connected. Construction is connected. It's about time. BuildDots, Connected Construction.
All right, and we're back. Okay, so it's time for question of the day. We asked a lot of questions from our audience, and the question of the day was selected from Leo Saloma, a company called Make a BIM. And he will actually win a ticket to WDB Summit, World of Digital Built Environment in September. Congrats to Leo. And the question is, what new business opportunities will emerge as a result of generative AI in the built environment? And of course, we asked the same question from ChatGPT, and here is the answer. I won't read through, it's quite long, so I won't read through everything. But generative AI has the potential to revolutionize the built environment, opening up several new business opportunities. Here are some potential areas where generative AI can create new opportunities. One is architectural design as an assist, urban planning, construction optimization, energy efficiency of buildings, interior design and personalization, real estate development, in site selection and project evaluation especially, and facility management by optimizing maintenance schedules, energy consumption, and space utilization. Some of those topics we have already a bit discussed. What do you think?
I think one thing which I didn't see was elements related to sustainability and environment. I think the construction industry is probably one industry which is having a one of the highest impacts on sustainability. So how can generative AI or AI in general can help on that dimension? I think that is something to look into, and there it could be around how could design could be optimized in a manner. Number one is to quantify the waste. That is one thing, but also then optimizing the design in such a way so that waste is minimal. You're able to leverage as many sustainable materials as possible. There are also companies who are leveraging AI to build up new recipes, to create different kinds of sustainable materials. Cement clearly is one material which is, I think, most from a sustainability perspective, very polluting. So how can new materials be discovered? Maybe using generative AI or AI in general to formulate these new kinds of recipes. So I think those are also some dimensions which I think would come out by applications of generative AI into this. Already we see, for example, generative AI being used in the pharma industry, for example. So similarly, there could be applications into formulating, new kinds of materials which are more sustainable, more environment friendly.
Yeah, no, I think tangential to that, one thing that I didn't see on the list was like how generative AI can be used in, let's say, building information systems, since there's usually a lot of data moving real time. This also relates to sustainability in the sense that, let's say, you monitor all the sensors in a certain building. Then someone has usually built some form of dashboards or some logic to see if there's any abnormalities. But when there are a lot of moving parts, I don't think there are not enough resources to have a human follow everything that's happening in the building. So maybe generative AI could be also used to kind of talk to the building data, because this is already happening a lot in our other data ecosystems, at least in Power BI and so forth. You can now, with natural language, ask your data for answers. So maybe wasn't on the list, but maybe for smart buildings, to integrate a real smart assistant that actually can explain whatever is happening in the building, and maybe relating to sustainability and energy, to ask, is everything now optimized, or could we have that AI kind of optimize things on the way? Maybe.
Yeah, I like the kind of phrase about talk to the building data. There has been actually quite many years already kind of visioning about having this kind of a building operating system. That's actually been, well, BMS is something, but then having even kind of more coherent and including everything that we do in the buildings, and having an operating system to interact with, and that hasn't been that easy to come up with, but maybe now with these tools that's one step closer.
One thing which I can still talk about is, I think the availability of data, especially in the construction industry or this industry in general, is quite limited. And that has been, the one of the reasons why there is, so less amount of efficiency and productivity in this industry. And since data is the fuel for AI, how can generative AI probably synthesize new data which can then be used to train these AI algorithms to improve their performance? I think that could be another broader implication of generative AI in those kinds of industries where data is not so uh, you know widely available. So that could be another application I can think about.
Yeah, and data interoperability of data also. We're, at least OpenAI has been talking a lot about plugins recently. Like, how can we give the AI access to the relevant data and give the AI capabilities to do changes in data? So we're already seeing a lot of plugins being developed. Let's say if you take one that everyone knows, Spotify is getting a plugin now, so you can ask the AI to generate a playlist for a certain event, and then it builds it. In a built environment, I think at some point all of the vendors would need their own plugins to their system. So when you have your smart building system, that AI needs to be able to communicate with whatever system there is in the building. So kind of building this ecosystem of plugins I will at least foresee that it will be very important to have an own plugin for AI.
Interesting.
How about kind of business model perspective? I think often when introducing new technologies to a business ecosystem, the only way to really widely adopt those technologies is to also change business models at the same time. That's kind of how it can be possible. In the construction, in the built environment, we have quite traditional business models still. Project-based model with design, bid, build, within the real estate quite long periods of leasing and then stuff like that. How do you see kind of or think how these existing business models in the industry will be maybe disrupted with the kind of help of these new technologies?
Yeah, I think one obvious thing is that the productivity improvements would be immense. We've already seen early implications from ChatGPT, but similar applications of similar technologies in the built environment would increase the productivity. For example, in the design phase by order of magnitude, what takes months now could potentially be done in weeks by using these technologies. So I think that would have a lot of implications to the business model, but then on the flip side to also the human labor. But then I think also on the building phase, in the construction phase, you can use these technologies to formulate the most optimized plan, how to go about then in the construction phase, when to order what kind of material, um, how do you allocate resources in the most optimized manner so that there are no bottlenecks, you're not having minimal wastage, for example. And then lastly, during the operating phase, how can you use data to operate your um, whatever kind of facility you have in the most optimized safe uh, manner, depending upon what kind of facility it is. So they are going to be widespread implications of the technology on business models. I think the jury is still out. We will see as we go ahead, but obviously there are going to be immense efficiency and productivity improvements to the business processes, and therefore the business models as well. What do you think about it?
Good points. Definitely one thing that came to mind was it in a couple of days ago in Hesar, they were talking about they were requesting for more building projects where the, let's say, upcoming inhabitants of the building were involved also in the planning process. So I think AI will actually allow us for more human interaction in building. It's not as expensive to have some project team listen to everyone. You can instead use generative AI to maybe synthesize or like listen to a lot of people and then give input in the start of the project. So I think it will be less expensive to just gather opinions at the start of the project. But what should I say? As you touched upon it also, I think the speed will increase tremendously for some cases. One thing that anyone can do right now is also have already AI respond to like tenders or like proposals and create those automatically. And then when I did a request for my air conditioning system, there were a couple of vendors that wrote surprisingly long texts really quickly. So I assume already someone is using AI to respond to all of those requests.
Sounds promising. Sounds promising. There's been some discussion also that this kind of outside players, like even these big ICT companies like Microsoft, may even enter this field and start kind of providing housing in a new way. I think Google visioned that in the future we could have a world where housing doesn't cost anything to us. So the business model is totally different. I don't know.
Haven't heard anything about that, but we are working a lot with partners across any like of construction, smart cities. I'm heading to Tampere Smart City Expo tomorrow and discussing with. We're involved, but I haven't seen any plans to become like a provider ourselves. So.
Yeah. So there's some pressures to change the business models and kind of enable with these technologies, new technologies. What would you, how would you see that? What will stay mainly the same in the next 10 years within the built environment sector? I know that this is traditional industry that's quite slow to change. So I'm sure that some of the things will also stay the same. How do you see that?
Of course, I like the picture you had at the start with that ChatGPT finish this building. There will be guaranteed a need for humans, or like in any part of the process. But I just think that the productivity will raise immensely, even if when AI comes. It's like the level of abstraction might rise. If you take programming, I don't think many people are writing code in assembly anymore. We're using higher levels of abstraction to get things done, and I think the same thing will happen across anywhere. So, and I mean, there's I think 100, if not more times, more developers now than in the assembly times, or earlier. So the demand will raise, but productivity will also follow it. So, but yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, but
Yeah, I think one thing is, I think the human interaction part that could probably be the differentiating part in the times to come. I think technology is going to be foundational, and something which is democratized by the big platform companies like Microsoft, so generally available for everyone. But then how do you differentiate is this human interaction? What kind of human interaction you have. Are you really aware of their needs and wants? What kind of services can you apply to them? I think that would still be relevant, and could potentially be the differentiator for the ones which are going to gain the market share from others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As some people in the sector say that we still need these shelters to provide us as some spaces to be comfortable inside and not outside the weather. So it's that need probably will be there
Yeah,
quite some.
unless man becomes a nomad again, I hope not. But if that doesn't happen, we still need our caves.
Yeah, exactly. But somehow we would need also to kind of be aware of the changing needs of us as people and society, and have that element as well in development of the real estate and built environment. All right. I want to thank you very much that you were joining our show today. I think it was really interesting and really nice perspectives that you had. This was our first episode of AI updates for the built environment, brought to you by Finnish AI region. And thank you also online and on site for watching today's talk show. More info about FAIR you can find at www.fairedi.fi. And see you next time on September 4th. After summer, we will have the next episode of AI updates. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
thanks.